Buenas tardes, compañeros y compañeras. Estamos esperando les pedimos que nos esperen un momento, que lleguen más egresados acá al salón, a la calle 79. Iniciamos la transmisión, ya tenemos todo listo, entonces les rogamos un poco de paciencia. Muchas gracias. Buenas tardes para todos y todos nuestros compañeros que se encuentran acá en este momento en la sala de juntas de la calle 79 y las personas que se han conectado a nuestra transmisión. Mi nombre es Ivonne Romero, hago parte del equipo del Centro de Egresados. Vamos a realizar nuestra charla informativa anual con Global Teaching Partners. La idea es seguir fortaleciendo este proceso de cooperación entre las instituciones. Y bueno, la idea es que ustedes también nos puedan dejar acá sus preguntas, en caso que las tengamos, y acá yo transmito también esas preguntas a los representantes de Global. O sea, igual la idea es que si no pueden estar acá, igual pregunten, por favor, siempre les insistimos. Y también a ustedes, compañeros y compañeras, pregunten absolutamente todo, cualquier duda. La idea es que esta charla sirva para aclarar todas esas dudas que tenemos sobre el proceso. Por eso, pues también vienen los representantes de Global para que tengamos todas las claridades sobre el proceso de intercambio. En este momento, el señor rector de nuestra universidad, Leonardo Fabio Martínez, va a darnos unas palabras también de bienvenida. Él ha apoyado muchísimo este convenio y el desarrollo también de este evento, teniendo en cuenta pues toda la situación de la emergencia sanitaria aún. Entonces, pues los dejo con él y después iniciamos con Nathan, pues ya lo que es la charla sobre el convenio. Entonces, bueno, voy a darles aquí la vueltica. Listo.
Bueno, muy buenas tardes para todos y todas. Primero que todo, pues nuevamente bienvenidos, bienvenidas aquí a su casa, la Universidad Pedagógica Nacional. Qué bueno poder reencontrarnos en estos tiempos pues difíciles, donde pues la presencialidad se ha venido retornando progresivamente, gradualmente, todo protegiendo pues la vida de la comunidad. Al igual que ustedes, pues he egresado a la Universidad Pedagógica Nacional y también tuve la oportunidad pues, de realizar, en este caso, mis estudios doctorales fuera del país, en Brasil. Entonces, sé lo importante y lo significativo que es tener una experiencia académica y sobre todo cultural en otro país. Por esa razón hemos venido pues apoyando, fortaleciendo toda la internacionalización de nuestros programas académicos y ahora también los egresados, ustedes son claves en ese proceso de internacionalización, de intercambio académico. Entonces, este programa y esta alianza estratégica que se ha venido teniendo con Global Teaching Partners hace parte de esa apuesta institucional para que nuestros egresados tengan movilidad internacional, para que ustedes pues no solamente piensen que es cuando somos estudiantes de pregrado o posgrado, sino que también ustedes sepan que como egresados también pueden tener posibilidades de moverse a otros países, en este caso a Estados Unidos, ¿no? Agradecerte especialmente por hacer parte de este proceso, por siempre contarnos, invitarnos. Estábamos ahora hablando sobre el programa está creciendo bastante, me estaba contando. Es nuestro amigo, se llama Nathan, ¿cierto? Nathan me estaba contando cómo el programa ha sido muy bien acogido en Estados Unidos, inicialmente en algunas áreas como ciencias, matemáticas, lenguaje, pero están creciendo. Hay otras áreas que se están involucrando en este proceso. Entonces, inclusive me escribió un egresado que no tiene la oportunidad de responderle, muy querido, que está ya trabajando en toda esta iniciativa, y me decía cómo ha sido la riqueza de la experiencia en términos académicos y culturales. Entonces, bueno, muchas gracias por venir. Esperamos que vayan, que puedan informarse, que puedan tomar la decisión. Yo sé que en ocasiones es difícil uno tomar esa decisión de irse fuera del país, de estar lejos de la familia, de tener, digamos, que enfrentar algunas dificultades. El tema de la lengua también es algo un poco complejo, pero se puede digamos, avanzar. Entonces, gracias y nuevamente bienvenidos a todo tu equipo y pues aquí con nosotros para seguir comentando este importante programa. Es eso, entonces un abrazo a todos y un agradecimiento al equipo del Centro de Egresados, a la profesora Ivonne, que siempre estaba allí atenta a este programa. Entonces, un reconocimiento especial. Entonces, muchas gracias. Yo finalmente la parte inicial, voy a poder acompañarnos toda la sesión, pero pues estoy siempre muy atento de todo lo que está ahí ocurriendo, ¿verdad?
Gracias. I just want to say thank you very much. I'm going to be able to take off my mask. So I want to say thank you to the director, and thank you to Yvonne, and thank you to Luann for having me. And I want to introduce myself a little bit more. I really appreciate you coming here today. The timing is very important because of the way the hiring process in the United States is happening. It used to be that the hiring started in March, April, May. It's now starting in January. And so it's very important that we get moving forward so we can have teachers hired and come to the United States in time for school to start next year. So I just want to say that UPN is an extremely important partner of ours, and it's been a wonderful relationship, and we've brought teachers from Colombia that have come and prospered and done a really phenomenal job, and they continue to do a great job, and the school districts want to hire more Colombians and people to teach our children in the U.S. on a cultural exchange. So on that note, first I want to say I'd like to apologize that I don't speak Spanish. I'm very sorry. Gracias. Once again, I'd like to apologize that I don't speak Spanish. My children speak more Spanish than I do, which is wonderful. But I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Nathan Thomasini. I started this program about 6 or 7 years ago, and with the thought of bringing teachers over to the U.S.
Yo creo que si es que no te estaban escuchando, no lo estaban escuchando. Listo.
You have to hold it. Okay.
Ya, dale.
I'd like to introduce Alonso Arisa, who is our outreach community coordinator. So he lives here in Bogota. He's been with us for a number of years, 3 or 4 years. And so whenever we...
¿Agua sola no quieres? ¿Agua?
No.
¿No?
Alonso, he speaks Spanish, so if I can't answer any questions and you need to ask him in Spanish, please feel free to do so. So I'm going to move on a little bit about Global Teaching Partners. We're located in Research Triangle Park, North Carolina. We work as a partner with the Department of State, of the government entity. We also operate in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Virginia. You should probably come in. Mostly in North Carolina, we have about 350 teachers. Probably about 20% of those are teachers from Columbia, and they're doing a fantastic job. Our retention rate for our teachers is about 96% compared to about 80% of the U.S. teachers. So our teachers are not only doing a great job, they're coming in, they're being successful and learning and doing professional development and becoming very successful in their school districts. And so, like I said, we operate in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Virginia. I wish I could give teachers a choice on where they will teach, but oftentimes it's not us, it's the school districts that like to choose the portfolio of teachers. And so you could end up in any one of those 3 states with us. What we do is we're a model of teacher support and development, which means that when you come to the U.S., we're going to be working with you prior to you coming, doing webinars, making sure that you're ready to teach in the U.S. It will be one of the hardest things you'll ever do. It's not an easy task. It's usually right around, if teachers come in August, it's usually right around November that they start really feeling comfortable, because it's not easy. You're learning new curriculum. You're learning what it's like to live and work in a different culture in the U.S. The food is completely different. Everything's different, and so you got to get used to it. But let me just say, I go back to this where I say that it's 96.5% retention, meaning that our teachers are doing well. So at times you may feel when you're there that everything's going downward spiral, but it comes back. Once you get accustomed and you get ready, you'll move forward, okay? So one of the things, this is a cultural exchange visa, okay? It's not a permanent visa. It's a 3 to 5 year visa. And I use 3 to 5 years, meaning that your visa is initially 3 years, and then you can get an extension for 2 additional years. If you want to come back to the U.S. on another exchange, you'd have to come home for a minimum of 2 years. It's a 2-year home residency requirement that we have. So while you're in the U.S., you have to bring your culture with you. You have to come and teach and teach the children about Colombia. I was talking with Alonso and Yvonne last night that only about 30% of the people in the U.S. ever leave the U.S. to go visit other countries. And so there's a whole pocket of U.S. residents that never get a chance to see what it's like in other countries, in other cities like this. And so it's important for you to bring that. We want you to bring that. While you're there, we're going to develop your technology skills. We're going to develop your leadership skills. So when you do come back, you can become an administrator or utilize those new technologies or use those leadership skills to excel in your position. Okay? And that's where our relationship with UPN comes in, because they want to see their teachers develop as well and move forward. So, any questions, thoughts yet? No? Okay? I talked about the importance of timing on this, and one of the reasons that I know you're about to go on holiday. When I talked about coming to the U.S., we will start our interview processes in January and February, but you won't be starting the school year until August. It's just the teachers, because of the pandemic, have really gotten behind in hiring process, and so they want to make sure that they have the teachers ready to go, and that you can get a place to live. You can come 3 months prior. 3 weeks prior, before your school starts, and that way you'll be ready. You'll have a driver's license. You'll know where the grocery store is and all those things to move forward. So I wanted to show this just because we are not just teachers from Colombia. We have teachers from all around the world that come on the cultural exchange, so you'll be part of a large group. Like I said, we have about 350, and we'll probably bring about 150 more. So throughout North Carolina and the southeast of the United States, there'll be another 500 teachers, where about 20% of those are teachers from Colombia. And then you add in other teachers from Latin and South America, from Honduras, Chile, Peru, teachers from all around. So you'll have a community of support for you there. Okay. North Carolina. You can see this right here. If you don't know, it's a beautiful state. I grew up in San Francisco in this area. I've lived in Colorado. I've lived in Virginia and North Carolina. By far, North Carolina is the most beautiful state that I've lived in. And so if you come to North Carolina, you would love it. Okay? It has, I know that you have beautiful mountains here. I'd say they're probably more beautiful than our mountains. But we do have mountains there. We do have the beaches out in here and some barrier islands, as we do have cities. Okay, and so if you come to teach in North Carolina and Virginia or South Carolina, you could have a place in the city, and we ask you if you like to live in a city or more of a rural community. Of course, as you know, cities are more expensive. Rural communities are less expensive. So it just really depends on the type of environment that you would want to live and work in. Okay. These are some of our teachers that came from UPN, and the ones here in the middle that are doing wonderful. And so they teach, most of these young ladies teach elementary school. Dual language is what we call that. They actually teach in Spanish to the students, but they need to communicate in English to the parents and things like that. So we also are in South Carolina. They do not have mountains in South Carolina. It's more of more beach and relaxed, but you can see Charleston and Myrtle Beach, and it's very pretty, as well as Virginia. It's a little bit more north of us, and it gets a little bit colder, but you all are used to that a little bit here. So anyway, what I wanted to do was show that we do. Myra Garzon, she actually interviewed here. We brought a school district here and interviewed, and she received a position, and she's doing wonderful. Mauro Rodriguez and Claudia Castellanos. Claudia, this last summer, she took a tour of the U.S. She drove around for 2,000 or 3,000 miles around with some friends and enjoyed her time. And as you can see, she was at the U.S. Capitol. So our teachers are doing great things, and teachers from UPenn are doing wonderful things out there. I wanted to show this video, and it cannot be loaded. What just happened there? So I'll try to come back to that. So as you can see, this is when they came at the airport, and the Mara's teaching, and they're doing a wonderful job. So I wanted to talk, move the focus on to teaching in the U.S. Okay, because there are English language requirements. Okay, so we do not have language tests. Has anybody in here been through the interview process with us? No? Okay. We have our staff, so you'll do a phone interview first, and we will test your language skills as you're going through. Okay. So you won't have to take a test, but you'll have to do a phone interview, a video interview, and so by the time you're done through the interview process, we'll know if we believe that you could teach in the U.S. We've never had any problems with language skills. And if you are need to work on your language skills, then we request that we may say, hey, we think you're a wonderful teacher. Maybe you should defer for a year and take some English classes. I know that Alonso teaches English, and so he could do that as well. But that's one of the things that we do. So teachers should speak at the advanced level, low level, and above the ACTFL or the B2 level. And so if you're not familiar with that, on the scale, the European framework, this is where you would need to be to teach in the U.S. Okay. I had to take the English test just to see what it was like, and I didn't even score perfect on English. And so if you're familiar with that, if you happen to be placed as a Spanish teacher in the U.S., meaning teaching Spanish, you'd have to take a proficiency test for Spanish, but I think y'all would do fine on that. So, any questions yet? No? Yes.
I have a question about the visa.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I have had the J1 visa before.
Yes.
But not for this program.
Okay.
That could be a problem.
No. Which visa did you have? Which J1? Which program?
Summer.
You were summer. Then it has nothing to do with the other. What he asked was he was on the J1 student exchange, and so he spent a summer in the U.S. Where did you?
I have been in Connecticut.
Oh, Connecticut. Very nice.
Yeah.
So please come. Many of our teachers, in fact, teachers that have been on the foreign exchange, the summer work program, have actually done really well in our program. Because when they come in, they know what it's like to teach or know what it's like to live in the U.S. So they're going from A to B there is much easier if you've been and lived there before, because you're used to everything. So the J1 visa, if you were a teacher and you stayed for 5 years and you went home, you'd have a 2-year home residency requirement. But because it's a summer program, there's no requirement at all. Yeah?
There's another question about education. I am finishing my master's degree. Is that a program as well? Or?
No, not in as far as, no, it's good that you're finishing it. Do you have 2 years teaching experience?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, then you're fine.
The thing is that some of that experience is abroad. Like I was living in Argentina, I just came back, and I know the certifications and everything.
Yeah.
Would that be a problem?
That's no problem at all. We do all of the, our team, we ask, as you're going through the process, we ask you for documentation as you proceed through, and you would just send us the transcripts and we get those evaluated, and if there's any issues, we let you know. But there is no issues if it's coming from, if some of your teaching was in Argentina or some of it was somewhere else. No, not a problem.
I have a question about age. I mean, if there is any, like deadline for age, because I mean, I'm younger than I am, but so in some of those programs, they have like a limit of age.
Yeah, no, we don't have any limit of age. What we do in the interview process is, what we've learned throughout the process is teachers can do well if they're older, teachers can do well if they're younger. All you have to do is have a 2-year minimum requirement. Now, if you go through the process and we're looking for certain things, we're looking for you to be adaptable. So what we find is a lot of teachers that may have been around teaching 20 years, that's hard for them to adapt to a new curriculum.
Well, I have experience abroad as well, because I just finished my master's in Germany. And
oh, awesome.
Yeah, I've been also to other countries, so
yeah.
I guess I already know what it's like to be in a new country. It's
Yeah.
hard at the beginning, yeah.
No, we take that all into account, and we look at you being adaptable, going to other countries and getting new experiences. That's always a positive, because it's going to make it easier for you to adapt to living in the U.S. And so, the short answer is no. There's no age. We have teachers that are in their 50s. We have teachers that are 25. Manny, did you have a question? Yes.
La pregunta es, el nivel mínimo pues, de examen sería un B1, perdón, B2. Tengo que hacer el examen internacional como el TOEFL, pero aparte de eso se hace un examen, digamos, con el global.
Normalmente no tienes que presentar ningún examen internacional, solamente la entrevista, porque precisamente habíamos hablado que es costoso presentar el examen de estos.
Y ahora pusieron más costosos.
Además que si llegaran a no pasarlo, o sea, lo que necesitamos es que haya una entrevista sobre vuestro
Okay. I wish I spoke Spanish.
Entonces, pues el tema es que si ustedes logran estar en la entrevista con la persona del distrito que los entrevista, logran tener una comunicación, esto es suficiente.
Ok, entonces en la entrevista.
Yeah.
Tienen 2 entrevistas.
It's part of the cost, but also is because we're part of the Department of State, that they give us the ability to judge that on our own during the process.
Entonces, también quiere que comprendan que este acuerdo, caramba, es que me están grabando eso. Ya me dio nervios. Como hace parte del Departamento del Estado, entonces pues es un tema directamente con el Departamento de Educación de los Estados Unidos, entonces ellos dan la libertad de que Global pueda pues decidir quién sí y quién no tiene la capacidad de enseñar, porque realmente no se necesita que hablen inglés perfectamente, sino que lo perfeccionen allá. Pero la idea es que pues se puedan comunicar con los padres y también con las directivas de la escuela, porque pues ¿cómo le explican a una persona el programa que tiene que hacer si no entiende lo que le van a decir en inglés? Que es esta parte. She also needs to because of requirement, but because she needs to communicate with parents and also
Yes.
from staff in the schools.
And as they go through the process, while I don't speak Spanish, while I don't speak Spanish, there will be other people on the staff that can communicate, through Spanish. But understanding the English language is very important. But knowing English is very important to be successful.
Pero es también importante pues para que comuniquen, interactúen con otros profes, viajen y todo esto. Es más como para que también ustedes tengan un buen nivel.
Yeah, I have another question. I mean, does my degree, because I have a master's degree from Germany, does that help to maybe be in a, in an upper category? Because I need money, man. I need debts to pay.
No, I understand completely. Yes. Well, it really depends on. North Carolina doesn't pay for a master's degree, but Virginia and South Carolina do. Luckily, the state of North Carolina just passed a new budget, and all the teachers are getting a raise this year, and so they'll be able to make more money. But yes, I hope I answered your question.
Hello, the masters. I have a real question. Do I have to have my diploma? Because I'm finishing it, and I'm waiting for I have to defend my cases, and I'm in that process. So
no, you would just let our team know that it's coming, and as long as you have that bachelor's degree, then you're fine. And so we'll just wait for the master's degree and add it to the transcript, to the portfolio. Yeah. So let me give you an example of a salary here. This is like a teacher. This is just an example. Each and every person is different. So what we did was we took a teacher, because our average teachers have about 7 years experience post-bachelorate. So if you had an annual salary of 42,000, that's what that would be, is what it would be in Colombian pesos. Usually the local school district gives you a little bit more money on top of that. But I just wanted to show you that there is federal withholding and state withholding. So you will have to pay taxes on that example. And I'm going to share this presentation with Yvonne, and she can share it out to everyone, okay? And so you can look it over, and then you can contact us for more information. At the end of this, I have a QRC code that you can get more information and go to our website and reach out to us, okay? So the process of hiring, this is very important. That's why I'm here right now as opposed to January or February or March, is that starting right after Christmas, the holiday break, we start sharing portfolios of our teachers with the school districts, okay? And the way it works is that we have partner school districts. And so, like I said, we have about 25 school districts that we work with. And what we'll do is we'll share your portfolio. Your portfolio will consist of your degree, your resume, and a short video clip that you'll have to do for us, as well as police background check, which you already have because you're teachers, as well as just your transcripts and those type of things in there. So when we share the portfolio with the school district, it will go to the principal of the school or maybe the hiring personnel. Then they'll call us and say, hey, we'd like to interview Alonzo. So Alonzo, we set up a video interview with the school district, so it would be about a 25 to 30 minute video interview. They may offer you the spot right there the job right there on the spot, or maybe they want to think about it and maybe do a second interview. But a lot of times they trust us because you've been through such a thorough vetting process with us that if they like you, they will offer you a position, okay? So that could be as soon as like January, February. If you want to accept the job, we'll send you all the paperwork, how much you'll be paid, those type of things. And then once you accept the job, we'll start getting the transition of you living and working in the U.S., okay? And what that looks like is a lot of paperwork, but it also looks like a lot of webinars that will go over curriculum. It will go over our healthcare. It will go over driving. It'll go over housing. It'll go over culture, those type of things. So you'll learn a lot about the U.S. before you even get there. Okay, and I'm just going to say this one more time. It's not easy. Okay, it's not easy if you go to another culture. We had a wonderful dinner yesterday, lunch. But the cultural differences between our two countries is quite a bit. And so when I come to visit new countries, I always want to learn more about cultures and assimilate as best I can. You can't be hard-headed. You have to allow the culture to take its form, because if not, then you know, that's when you have issues, is when you don't try to learn the new culture. Does anybody have any question on this? Yes.
About the visa process, I mean,
Yes.
do you accompany us to that process?
Yes.
And for example, about the housing, because I mean, I had a horrible experience in Germany trying to have accommodation because the university didn't help actually. So it was so hard to do that, and well, I don't want to go through that again. So I want to know if we get your support to get a house, to get the visa.
So let me explain how this works. The short answer is yes, we help you. So we have somebody on our staff that's in charge just of housing for our teachers. That's his job. His name's Davis. His job is to find housing for all of our teachers prior to their arrival. So one of the things, okay, so let me go back to the visa first. So once you have a position in the U.S., we send you the visa paperwork. You make an appointment with the embassy. We track the whole thing, make sure that it goes properly. You have the appointment. Once you have the appointment and you're accepted, then we start the transition. It's usually a pretty easy process. I know because of the pandemic, embassy appointments have been very difficult. But I'll tell you one thing: Colombia embassy is from, say, this last summer to now has been much easier. We actually had a teacher hired from Colombia in July, and it took her 3 weeks to get through the whole visa process and to get a plane ticket and come to the U.S. So as far as the visa processing, it should be a lot smoother this year and easy, and we walk you through it all.
Now that you mentioned the flight tickets, so how much money more or less do we need to have like saved?
Good question. I'll come back to that.
Okay.
Because I'm going to talk about that in a few minutes. To the housing, which I'm going to talk about a little bit, but once you get hired in the U.S., we want to make sure that we put you in a safe, reliable housing situation. Sometimes teachers tell us, no, I'm looking online at a place, and I'm telling you right now, no, because we have to see the place first.
Yeah.
So your first 6 months to a year that you're living and working here, you have to trust us. You have to trust that we're going to find you a nice, safe place to live. And, you know, the housing costs in the U.S. are a little bit higher proportionally, percentage-wise of your salary than they are in Colombia. But we try to help work with you on the budget so you can understand that. And we try to make sure that before you get there to the U.S., you have a place to live, you have your utilities hooked up, you have your internet hooked up, all of those things done. So when you get there, you have a place to go to, okay? And it's hard because you don't have a bed yet, you don't have, you know, a TV or any of those things. And so we understand how hard it is, but we have people in place to help you through that process, okay? So we talked about the visa. So one of the things I want to stress, we don't have any fees. The school districts in the U.S. pay the fees. So if anybody on my staff ever asks you for money, don't ever give it to them, but they'll never ask. Okay? So you will have third-party fees. You'll have visa fees, transcript fees, those type of things. Okay? Actually, not transcripts. We pay the initial transcript fees and evaluations. You need to notify us after your successful appointment. You notify us, and then we start the process of you moving to the U.S. So let's just say you get hired in February or March. You're going to go through a series of about 10 webinars that you have to come to, and we need to make sure that you watch those, because we found that the people that watch those and pay attention, those are the ones that are successful living and working in the U.S. Okay? You'll get sent a contract that will give you the specifics about the organization and about your contract. It's not anything earth-shattering. It just says you're going to be paid this much. Your expectations would be that you're going to be a good teacher. It's a 10-month contract, those type of things. I want you to read all of it to understand it. I talked about the online orientations. Those are very important to understand, okay? And one of the things that I want to stress about all of this is that we have teachers from Colombia that we will put you in contact with if you have questions, because you will. We'll put you in contact with them. We are very proud of our teachers. We're very proud of the support that we give our teachers. And so please reach out to them, ask them any questions that you have, okay? Process of moving, preparing for your departure. We ask, and sometimes it's that you can't, but we ask that you try to bring about $3,000 US, okay, to come to the US. We give you a $2,000 interest-free loan that you pay back throughout the first year, okay? So if you bring $3,000 and we loan you $2,000, you should be more than fine for the first couple months, and you'll catch up because you have to pay deposits and those types of things, okay? That interest-free loan will be paid back $200 out of your check each month, interest-free. So you won't pay anything for that. Make sure that you do all the paperwork, do it promptly. Make sure you care for your personal belongings. If you have homes here or cars, that you make sure you get that stuff taken care of. Now, this is very important. Vaccination records for your children, for yourself, medical records, school records, anything like that if you're going to bring dependents. We want you to bring your family, okay? Trust me, though, when I say to try to bring in your family in the first month, you really can't do that. You need to come alone to get yourself situated, then send for your family and bring them after you know where everything is, after you have a driver's license, after you can get around, after you've gone through all your orientations for your school, okay? Because it's very hard for you to get on the ground there with a family in tow or a kid or even a spouse. Because you have so many things going on. And so please trust us on that. We ask that you don't bring your family but we want you to bring your family, because I have 3 kids, and if I wasn't allowed to be around my family, I would not be very happy. So it's okay to bring your family. We want you to, but just don't bring them right away, okay? Prepare for your students. We will send you the new curriculum, okay? What have you heard about? Have you heard about kids in the U.S. and what it's like to teach kids in the U.S.? Anybody? No?
It will depend.
They can be tough.
It will depend on,
Yeah.
let's say, in the year of school, like here.
Yeah.
It will depend.
Yeah.
Well, the
Sometimes we hear that kids can be very difficult, but Yvonne and I were having this discussion last night. It's just a cultural difference. Kids are kids, regardless around the world. Okay, it's just you have to learn what kind of cultural differences children have in the U.S. So you would learn more about that. The kids will be kids. They want to trust you. Once they earn your trust, smooth sailing. Okay. If one of the things that we try to tell people is that if you're coming, if you can try to get a international credit card before you come, because you don't have credit in the U.S. That can be difficult. So that's why we give you the loan, and so you start to earn credit. Once you start paying your utility bills, once you start paying your rent, those type of things, your credit will be earned, and then you can apply for credit cards. But if you can somehow bring a credit card, that would be great. But check with your financial institution, okay? It's not always easy. Okay, I talked about this. This is the question that we have right here. You can research transportation and housing, and it's great, but you got to trust us on this. We have partners with not only vehicles and housing, but we try to take care of most of that for you. You just got to trust us. We'll send you different options, and you'll tell us what you like. A lot of times now with housing, you can do like a virtual tour of a housing complex. Once again, we talked about the orientations. I already talked about that. So what will happen is that after you come to the U.S., we will pay for your initial plane ticket to the U.S. So you arrive, say, the last week of July, is usually right around, you'll arrive then. We'll pick you up at the airport. We'll take you to the hotel about 10 minutes away in Durham, North Carolina. That's where I live. Okay. We'll put you in a hotel for 3 days. Okay, with about 100 other teachers, and you will learn all about what it's like to live and work in the U.S. and attend our orientation. And then after that 3 days, we send you to your school district where you'll be met with either your school principal or one of our advisors that will help you get acclimated to living and working. In no point do we just drop you off and leave. We're always there to support you. That doesn't mean that we don't want you to fly and be on your own, but when you first get there, it's very difficult, and we want to make sure that you have support once you're there. Okay? Introduce you to the community. I just have a few other, these are some of the teachers that came in on their first day. This was their first day in August. Arriving, that was the principal that took them all out to dinner and showed them a good time, and that's a picture of their housing there and that kind of thing. So, I talked about this very briefly. Did you
have some questions?
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. Can I finish this and then I'll answer these questions?
They're asking.
What's that?
They're asking what you're talking. They're asking.
Okay. Okay. Should I answer these now or just wait? Okay. Yeah. Let me finish this and then I'll answer these questions. Okay. I've already touched on this, which is extremely important. When I say your first 2 weeks, some people think those first 2 weeks are the most exciting part of their whole journey and their life because you get there, you're excited, you're in a new culture, you're in a new country, and then all of a sudden you're there and you're starting to live and you realize that you're not going home. And so you go from this to this, but then back to this. Okay? So I want to stress to you that if you come and you feel that way, you reach out to us, you reach out to your advisors, you talk to us, and we'll work with you through it. All of our teachers become successful, okay? But you gotta talk to us and let us know how you're feeling so we can help you through it. Our academic advisors are former principals that have worked with international teachers, and they know what it's like to transition teachers from a new culture, okay? So we talked about students in the U.S. a little bit about. Teaching in the U.S. is different than teaching in Colombia. I have visited schools in Colombia. It's a lot different than it is in the U.S. Now, I can tell you many different ways, but it's just part of the learning experience, okay? Our classrooms are similar in size. I was telling Alonzo and Yvonne, most of our schools, they don't have uniforms, so kids come in whatever clothes they want, and you have preconceived notions of those children because of what they're wearing, and I stress not to do that. Whether you believe it or not, the food, it can cause the way you feel about things. You know, I try to tell people when you come to the U.S., don't eat fast food because the more fast food you eat, it's easier to obtain. Don't do it because it's a lot of fatty foods and things like that. Our foods are very different, and so when I come here, I try to assimilate, but it's very different. It's different fruit, the meat's different, everything is. The breads are different. So get used to that and just know that it's different. You know, I know that you probably watch CNN, which news media, so you get to see a lot of the U.S. issues that we have. Okay, they're trying to sell advertising and trying to create a lot of controversy. I'm not saying we don't have problems. Everyone has issues. But I'll tell you what, our communities that we live and work, they're nice communities. I like the people that live. We've never had, knock on wood, we've never had a teacher come to us and say that they've had issues with people saying that they don't like them because they're from another country or something like that. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, because it does, but it's not as prevalent as you may think, okay? In fact, I would say it's the other way around. They appreciate having the other people from other cultures. You'll also, you'll learn about the politics, the healthcare, driving in the U.S., your adjustment period, and we talked about the cash needed for transition. So if you plan to do this, we want you to do it, but we want you to come prepared. So start saving money, okay? We talked about honesty and ethics in application. I already talked about spouse and dependent children. We want you to bring them. It's okay to bring them. If you have children, it's not a strike on your application. It's, you know, we have teachers that bring their spouse, they bring their children, and they're having wonderful experiences, okay? We're gonna ask you to verify your teaching experience. The way you verify that teaching experience is going to your principal and getting that information. And so once you have the job and you're you know you're coming, that's when you need to get it. Because we can't pay you if we don't get that verification, okay? So eventually you're gonna have to tell them that you're leaving and you're gonna have to get another job. You can usually get that from your Ministry of Education as well, okay? Driving in the US is a lot different. Our roads are much bigger. Luckily, you drive on the same side of the road as we do, so it's not too much of an adjustment, but a lot of times our vehicles are much larger. You get used to it. Yes?
I have a question about that because, for example, I can drive and I know that in some parts it's difficult to get public transportation, so everybody has his own car because it happened to me in Dubai. It was awful. Because, you know, like, what about that? I mean,
we need you to get a driver's license. Yeah, because just like you just said, that you will need a car where the public transportation just isn't. Some cities you can take public transportation, but other cities you can't.
but I mean, do I need my driver's license from here, or I can start the process there, like start learning?
You'd have to start the process here.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, that would be a problem because I've never driven a car.
You've never driven a car. Yeah, you would need to drive in the U.S. Yeah. Think about that. We talk about it because you will need to drive. I mean, if someone he'll tell you over there. I'm sorry, I don't know your name, sir, but yeah, Diego would tell you you're going to need to have a vehicle.
And is it possible to get a place? I mean, to work in a town or city in which there are public buses or metro or something?
Yes, but it's few and far between. It really can be difficult. Okay. And Diego could probably tell you better than I can.
The closest one where we have a camp is like 30 minutes, is a 30 minutes drive. And there are no buses.
Yeah, we try to put you as close to your school as possible. So, but we would ask you about your driver's license and things like that. Talk to me afterwards and we'll talk about it. Your DS 2019 is the document that we send you to be able to get your visa. Just knowing that's a very important document that we will send you. Don't lose that document, but that's the document that will get you into the country, into the U.S. Okay, how to apply? Is globalteachingpartners.com. There'll be a place for referrals in that. Put that you are a graduate of UPN. We love our teachers from there, and so whenever we see that in there, we flag it. We have weekly meetings that goes over our applicants, and we like to know which of the teachers are coming from here. Okay, and so a lot of times when I get to meet some teachers from here, I like to know and be able to say, oh yeah, I remember talking to Diego, and you know we talked about this and that and those kind of things. And so, and then when we tell you that you need to order transcripts, you can order your transcripts through Yvonne and the Alumni Association here, so she can get them and ship them right to us. So it'll be an easy process for you. Okay? These are some of our cases. So I'm going to answer all of these questions that I have here, but I'm going to go to Diego first. Yes.
What are the documents we need to apply?
What's that?
What are the documents we need to apply?
Okay, just to apply, and that's where we talk about the driver's license. We ask you for a copy of your degree and a driver's license. Or like, yeah, the driver's license. It shows you.
No, man. I mean, I never thought that was so important.
It really is.
The thing that we live in a capital city and we have like public transport.
Yeah, I know.
Lots of us don't have a driving license.
It's,
But yeah.
it's very hard, but if you start the process and try to get moving on it, then we can move the process through.
Like, can we apply without a driving license?
You could start the process, and we would know that it's an UPN, but knowing that you would have to get that before you can. Okay, because it's
Before in your hands or before January?
before you were offered a position, and well, maybe, but knowing that you're in the process of getting it.
Okay.
Yeah, and our team will talk to you about that. Okay. Yes. Yes.
It is necessary job experience in teaching.
Yes. Is it important to have teaching experience?
Okay.
Is that your question?
Yes, and en español,
Okay.
¿cuánto tiempo de experiencia se necesita? Y si, digamos, profesores de ciencias sociales.
Sí, aplican en varias áreas. Watch experience in that's what she wants to know.
You have to have 2 years teaching experience.
Es de los 2 años de experiencia para poder aplicar, sí.
And that's
Cualquier área que hayas tenido que enseñar, institutos, colegios, todo esto es
Virtual,
experiencia.
educación virtual.
Sí, también
Las
se podría.
prácticas son, o sea, ¿aprueban las prácticas pedagógicas o no?
No, internship teaching is not.
it really depends. So we'd have to see what type of experience that was.
Tocaría mirar qué tipo de experiencia es para saber si es aplicable o no es aplicable.
So this rule is not a Global Teaching Partners rule, it's a Department of State regulation. And so we would have to look, we have to have you send us to what you were teaching and look at it and see about the,
Es más, no es como un
where
requerimiento
was you
de
taught and those type
sino
of
el
things.
Departamento de Estado, saber qué tipo de experiencia tienes, saber si es aplicable, si la tienen que revisar, y es más como un requisito que se exige a través del Departamento de Educación para que los profes que entren por Global tengan una experiencia pues demostrada.
So, once again, you can go right here to apply, okay? And it will ask you a series of questions. And one will be about teaching experience, okay? And so if you say, yeah, I've taught 2 years experience, but they may have been internship, when we contact you for the phone interview, we'll ask you more about that. After you pass the initial phone interview, which is about a 20-minute conversation, then we'll ask for other documentation. That's when we ask for transcripts and those type of things. And so if it was a question and you didn't meet the requirements, our staff would let you know and tell you what you needed to do to meet those experience requirements. Okay? Is that?
Experience working with kids and adults, is that a problem?
No.
Like a mix of both.
Yeah.
We work in the afternoons with teenagers and in the mornings with adults.
Yeah. In the U.S., you're either certified to teach K-5 education, or K-6 actually, or secondary, which is middle and high school. We understand that all of our countries aren't like that, so we just look at the overall experience and then we try to figure it out from there. So each person's different. So we have staff that'll look at it and say, okay, his degree was in mathematics, and he taught the majority of the time at the secondary level. Most likely he'll be hired at that level, and then that's where you'll be hired. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I have another question. Like my master's is in cognitive psychology and I'm trained to work with, for example, autism and like some learning disorders and some disabilities.
We were just talking about this last night.
Like I have a mixture of like different disciplines. I have my degree in Spanish and English teaching. I have experience teaching English. But I'm finishing my master's in like this field.
Yes.
And I'm doing research in this field as well. So,
Yeah.
like I would like to. I don't have working experience or teaching experience with like autism, like official experience, but I have some experience maybe like some stuff with that.
Yeah. So our evaluators would have to look at that. But we were just talking about that because that's what we've gotten school districts that have asked us if we have teachers from Colombia that teach special education and those type of things. And so we have a demand for that, especially for a teacher that can speak Spanish. So the answer is yes, kind of. I guess So we'd have to we would just have to see what that experience is on paper. That's all. Okay. Okay. Let me read some of the questions. When can I start to apply and how? We want you to start to apply as soon as possible. The process is it goes pretty quickly. Once you apply, you'll see that you go through 8 or 9 questions. Once you get that, you can schedule a phone interview. Usually takes a couple of weeks for that. After that, we go through a process if you're approved through that process. Then we'll do a series of video interviews where it'll be a virtual Zoom conference with one of our evaluators, one of our interviews. And so those usually take about half an hour. So the entire process could take, a month or 2, or it could take 6 months, depending on you as the teacher, on when you get the documentation through. Okay, so we want to find good teachers, and so if you're trying to go through the process fairly quickly, then that's exactly why I told Yvonne that I thought it was important that I came before the holiday, because we have our first round of set of interviews. School district is interviewing about 20 teachers January 12th. And so we know a bunch of our teachers are going to be hired for August, right in January. So if you can start the process, it's better to start right away. Talk about teaching experience. I'd say that the easiest way to explain it is that you need to be in the classroom for 2 years teaching, okay? Now what that experience looks like is going to be different for everybody, and so we would just have to take a look at that after you get that experience, okay? How much experience should a person have in order to apply? The same question, 2 years teaching in the classroom. The driver's license question was a mandatory question. Yes, it is, and it's really not a global teaching partners question of the driver's license. The U.S. is so large. North Carolina has about 11 million people. I think Colombia, how many? Is it 50 million people? So it's a big place. It's a big place. I understand that. But the U.S. has about 340 million people, and it's spread out. If I was to drive from San Francisco, where I grew up, to North Carolina, nonstop, without stopping, it would still take me about 3 to 4 days. That's without stopping. So I've done it a couple times from coast to coast, and it takes about, if you stop and just rest and look at things, it's almost a week to drive. So it's a big place. The cities are big. The public transportation, while it's there, it's not as reliable as you would think. It's not like Bogota where you get on a train or a bus. Right. So it is part. We do understand that you may not have it. So if we talk to you and say, we think you're a great teacher, but you need to start that process, okay, of obtaining that driver's license. Because once you get in the U.S., you have about 3 to 4 weeks to purchase a vehicle or lease a vehicle, and then you're driving, okay? The driving experience in the U.S. is different than the driving experience here. I know that I do not want to drive here. I like big open spaces where I drive and not people in and out. So you won't experience that in the U.S. like you see that here. Someone's asking for the link to the website. Is there only one recruitment process per year? No. I usually have come probably 2 or 3 times a year to Bogota. And I haven't been here for 2 years, and so I was very excited to come and see people and get to visit with Yvonne and Alonzo and the rector. But let me just say that it's an ongoing process. You know, it may be that you don't want to do it this year for August. It may be that you want to wait another year. We do have teachers that apply, get jobs within 3 months, and they come right away. We have teachers that have been in the process for 2 years because they're nervous about something or want to make sure they're financially independent, those type of things. So don't feel like if you don't get a job or want to come right away that you have to. I mean, there'll be teaching positions in the U.S. next year too.
Yeah, so my only doubt is, my only doubt was about the process of getting the license. Mm-hmm. No, I guess I will have to wait until the next recruitment process, because right now, I mean, the only requirement I do need right now is the driver's license.
Yeah.
So I will have to wait.
You know, I just want to say, you know, if you're a great teacher, I want you to come. All right? You know, and this is not against male and female. Male teachers do great in the U.S., female teachers do too, but I'd say it's females are about 80% of teachers, and it seems like males are 20%, so they're in high demand. But we want you to come to the U.S. But we've been through this a long time, and we know that getting a driver's license is important. You know, having that teaching experience, having that classroom management experience, all those things are very necessary to be successful in the U.S. Okay, because it's a different culture that you have to get used to. So, was there other questions that were? Say that again. Say that again.
He's got a degree in education.
Yeah. So he asked about, there's a teacher that is a musician that has a degree in education. Has he taught?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, if it's 2 years. So one of the things that's great about North Carolina specifically is they have actually written into the state legislature by law that it's important to have international teachers. That's why they pay to have international teachers come to the U.S. Is that the school districts, they pay us to bring international teachers. A regular teacher in the U.S. has to have the teachers, the degree of what they're teaching. So for example, if you wanted to teach primary education, K-6 education, your degree would have to be in that, then you'd have to have 2 years teaching experience. In North Carolina, we understand that not everybody has the degree in primary education. So if you've taught, say, mathematics for 3 years, and even though your degree's not in mathematics, you can apply, okay? But you have to still have a bachelor's degree. So if you've taught in primary school for a number of years, but your degree wasn't in that area, as long as you have that 2 years of teaching experience, you can be licensed in North Carolina to teach. Okay? Any other questions?
When is the next process?
It's constant. And so if you go on and apply, you'll hear from someone on our team, and we just keep it open. The only time we shut down the recruitment process for us is actually around July and August, because our staff is really working on making sure teachers are here, and we don't really have time to start the interview process. Yeah. So it's constant. Yes?
How about teachers in Egresados?
Say that again?
How about teachers in Egresados for the little ones? Yes. For the
Oh, pre-K? Pre-K? Yeah. One of the things that we do is we have teachers from all different areas. Traditionally, our teachers start kindergarten, which is 5 years old. So we have a lot of teachers that are kindergarten up through 6th grade, and then we have middle school and high school. We have teachers, we have music teachers, we have drama teachers, we have PE teachers, we have math teachers, science teachers, special education teachers, which we call exceptional children in the U.S. We have teachers, language teachers. We have ESL, which is English as a second language. We have one school district that's going to hire 15 ESL teachers this year. So, because they have such a high need. So, whatever area it is that you're working in, we will look at your resume and see if it meets our needs. Now, one of the things I'd say is that, there aren't a lot of PE jobs out there, but we do have some. So we may come to you and say, you're such a great PE teacher, we're going to keep you in our pool, but it's not as easy as an elementary position, or it's not as easy as a mathematics or a Spanish teacher, those kind of things. Okay. Does that answer your question? I want to see if this video in Claudia can come up here. She actually made this video on her own. Oh, it's not. I don't know why it's not. It's not coming up for some reason. But Claudia started, and she's in her 4th year in our program. And she was, I think Joanna's a good friend. But we have a lot of teachers that are really doing wonderful things from Japan. And we want you to apply, and we want you guys to be successful. So with that note, I just want to say thank you for coming today, and I appreciate your time. My name, once again, is Nathan Tomasini. I run the organization. If you reach out to me, I will answer your emails and your phone calls. So please don't hesitate. But we have other people on our staff that specialize in certain areas, and that they'll answer your questions as well. We pride ourselves on the support of our teachers, and if you don't meet the requirements, we want to figure out a way to tell you how to meet the requirements, and then get you set up so you can come and experience at another time. All right? I'll be here if you want to talk to me a little bit longer.
Your email?
Well, my personal email is Nathan, NATHAN, at globalteachingpartners.com. And if somehow that doesn't work or bounce back, ask Yvonne.
Global Teaching Together.
Yes, one word. And Yvonne can share you that contact.
Los correos y también les envían la presentación.
Y pues igual si hay alguna otra duda, nosotros una vez nos pueden también escribir a nosotros y les remitimos a Nathan.
¿Sabes algo del proceso de la licencia de conducir acá en Colombia?
Pues lo que han hecho nuestros compañeros en realidad, porque sí es verdad que nosotros acá no estamos acostumbrados a tener licencias, ¿sí? Pero digamos que los tiempos sí les dan a ustedes para que puedan hacer su curso en un mes, en realidad no es tan complejo, es una inversión, ¿sí? Piénsalo como el curso acá no se demora más de un mes, ¿sí? Buscan una escuela y pueden realizar el proceso. O sea que eso no te vaya a detener en serio para que te vayas, porque creo que los beneficios son mayores y si hay un tema de movilidad que es muy clave. ¿Sí? O sea, tú allá debes conducir, sí o sí. Entonces, pero acá es sencillo, o sea, mucha gente hace el curso en un mes y las mismas escuelas de entonces, más o menos como 1.500.000, así como exagerando, he estado consultando que vale el curso para sacar la licencia.
Ah, perfecto.
Pero pues igual yo creo que con los tiempos que ellos están dando, ustedes alcanzan a pues hacer su curso y a obtener la licencia. O sea, no te vayas a varar por eso. Porque si no es que ya te toca esperar un año más porque esta convocatoria es 2022.
Okay. She says that the timing is perfect, that the course is about 1 month and I can still apply to be on time.
So if you apply to the program and it'll ask you referral, it'll ask you if you have a driver's license, hit yes, but explain to when you get the phone call that you were at this information session, that you're in the process. Okay? And so I'll let our team know that's coming. Okay? I really appreciate you coming. So thank you for coming. And like I said, you can, if you want to talk to Alonzo or myself, please feel free to reach out to me too. I'm on WhatsApp if you want to call my WhatsApp as well. All right?
I do have another question.
Yes.
I know that some of my friends doesn't speak English. So if they have the interview, the first interview about the phone call, and the person says, well, you have to practice a little bit more, how long or how much time they have to practice and get ready for that?
That's really just up to the teacher. I mean, because what we'll do is that we'll tell them, hey, we think you should go take an English class. Come back when you feel that you're more proficient.
So it's gonna be on us.
What's that?
It's gonna be.
Yes, it's on you.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, and so we're very upfront with if we don't think your English skills are good enough, we'll let you know right away. But we won't reject you. We'll just say, hey, we'd like you to get deferred for a while, and then come back and reapply. Okay? Yes, it's good. We've had teachers that have worked on their language skills and come back. Okay? ¿Sí?
Una preguntita en español. En caso tal que la persona se postule, presente todos los documentos y por algún motivo se queda, digamos, en este tiempo, se posterga, ¿hasta cuándo sale el proceso o vuelve a ingresar?
Pues la persona se puede volver a ingresar al proceso porque se lleva como un conteo de quién está aplicando y en qué parte del proceso va.
O sea, se le da la espera para que cumpla con todos los requisitos.
If a person is applying and needs someone or he's got a problem or situation with documents or something like that, she has to go out of the process and when can she retake the process and
Just communication is key. Just make sure that you let us know that you're going to defer
sí.
for a year.
Primero avisas por la razón por la cual, porque también han habido profes que han tenido inconvenientes con documentos o con cosas se les ha ayudado, pero si de pronto no se puede o es algo personal, avisas que te vas a retirar para poder tener allí como lo que llevas del proceso.
That actually happened quite a bit during the pandemic. That we had 20-30% of our teachers decided they didn't want to come this last year. And so they started the process again. And so you won't have to go through everything again. We just need to know where you are in the process.
Se retoma desde el punto en que dejaste el proceso cuando lo quieras retomar.
Súper, muchas gracias.
Anything else? We all good? Well, I appreciate your time, and I really do want to say thank you for coming. I know that this, I used to travel internationally 13 or 14 times a year, and 2 years ago it all stopped. And so this was my first time out of the country again, and so it was nice to come and be able to see people and talk to people, and just know that, while the world may never be the same, it will get better, I believe. And I know in the U.S. We're still having issues, but it's actually starting to feel a little bit more comfortable. And our teachers are doing well. Okay? No, thank you. Gracias.
Si quieren igual acercarse, preguntarle algo, lo pueden hacer en la pregunta.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah, like